Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and yes, I am back with another 5 films you should watch, this time before Longlegs. But before I hop into that list, I did just want to give you guys a serious, huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for embracing the top 5 films you should watch before you see Maxine. That was a super fun video for me to make. I really think this is going to be a fun series for us, and all of the support means so much to me. If you're just finding this channel, please check that video out. It should be linked at the end of this video, as well as hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 3,000 subs. We're climbing super duper fast, and I do seriously appreciate all of the support. That's enough of me blabbing, because you're going to hear a lot more of it. So let's hop into this list, starting off with number 5. As I'm sure most of you are aware, Longlegs is one of those films this year that has completely consumed us, and I think a big reason for that is this viral marketing campaign. I mean, the team over at Neon has just been crushing it with the little teases leading up to a trailer. Honestly, it really does mean a lot when we see the hype get built up for a movie like this, and you can see that with just the amount of people that are salivating for this film. It's currently got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yeah, people are just going crazy for it. So to kick things off on this list, I wanted to talk about kind of a very famous, very well-known film that is getting a lot of comparisons to Longlegs. And of course, I am talking about Silence of the Lambs. Yes, this 1991 crime thriller directed by Jonathan Demme is a film about a young FBI cadet who must receive help from an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer to help her catch another serial killer, a madman who skins his victims. As I said, this is already a very famous film. I think that it kind of goes without saying that this has to be a huge inspiration for Longlegs itself. I mean, just the idea of having a female FBI agent kind of tracking down this maddening killer. It's the bare bones, it's the basic concept. But what really drew me in about revisiting Silence of the Lambs for this list was, again, the performances. And I think that with the likes of Jodie Foster and, of course, the always great Anthony Hopkins, they are really two forces just playing off each other so well. You see Jodie Foster so early into her career, and you know, she's really playing into this kind of determined but a little unsure of what she's kind of stepping into as far as a recent cadet, a recent addition to the FBI. And, you know, I really love that concept. I think that's super smart. I don't think that Micah Monroe is exactly going to be following that trajectory in Longlegs. I think that she's a bit more established from what I know, but I do think that when you have two great actors, or actor and actress, like we're going to be getting in Longlegs, it does send for some really riveting scenes. Every time that Jodie and Anthony sit in that kind of cell and they talk to each other, it's just awesome. I did, by chance, get a second to read the book. It's not a very long book, but I went back and read it before this, and man, it's also really good. But I do have to say, I think that it is one of the very few times where I think the movie is better than the book. I think the book is fine, it just takes a little longer to get where we're going, and yeah, it could just be a bias for me, but yeah, I think if you're looking for something that's just going to get you in the mood to kind of play on the same themes of what we're to expect to see in Longlegs, you can't go wrong with Silence of the Lambs. Moving on to number 4, I of course had to mention the 2021 film Pig. Yes, this is not a horror film, and this isn't really a crime drama or thriller by any chance. This is very much a drama. And the reason that I'm putting this on this list is because, again, I don't want these lists to just be centered around the themes and the energy of said film that we're kind of dissecting and putting this list together by. I think that, of course, you know, we're going to have a lot of movies like that, but I think it's also important to highlight specific aspects of what I'm excited to to see when it comes to a film like Longlegs. And of course, the big one for me is going to be Nicolas Cage. And he's had a really long career with many films, some absolutely atrocious, some are all-timers. But for me, I think that 2021's Pig is probably one of his most overlooked films in recent memory, and I highly recommend that you check this one out before you see Longlegs, because in my mind, this is his best performance since, like, Mandy. The film centers around a truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregon wilderness. He must return to his past life in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. Many people said, oh, this is just going to be John Wick with a pig. And no, this is not that at all. This is so much deeper of a film. I mean, I get chills just thinking about some of these scenes, especially one where Nicolas Cage confronts kind of an old rival of his. Almost, I think at one point they were like kind of working together. And it is just the sparring with words. It really, you watch this man kind of crumble in his chair. It is probably the best scene in the film. And not only that, but the relationship that he builds with the character of Amir, with Alex Wolff. I mean, it seriously elevates both their performances. They play off of each other so well. And this is actually from the director of recently A Quiet Place Day One, Michael Stornowski. And I thought that this was an amazing directorial debut. It just shows the power and the gravity that he's willing to bring out of his actors and in his stories. I think that this is definitely something that you should check out, you should appreciate. I want to get it out there more. And of course, if you want to see just a Nicolas Cage performance that'll give you an idea of kind of what he's capable of as he's getting into his later years, this, for me, is the essential pick. Moving into my number 3 pick, we probably have the most fucked up movie on this list, admittedly. Yes, I wanted to put something on here that really represents the diving into, the really dissecting the mind of a serial killer. And there is only one movie that does that for me, personally, in probably one of the most brutal, honest, and sometimes admittedly very overzealous ways possible. And no, it's not American Psycho. I know some of you guys were probably guessing that, but this is The House That Jack Built. Yes, this is a 2018 film from Lars von Trier. Now, I am not the biggest Lars von Trier fan. I think that the guy is a bit overindulgent in himself, especially in moments in this movie. But with that being said, I am one of those people that can truly separate art from the artist, and I think that this is probably my favorite film of his. We view the film as 5 episodes, or incidents, of a failed architect and a vicious sociopath named Jack, recounting his elaborately orchestrated murders, each, as he views them, a towering work of art that defines his life's work as a serial killer in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, this movie is dark, and yes, it has some thoroughly shocking moments that will probably turn a few people off, more than a few maybe, but I think that this movie also is very darkly comedic at times. Matt Dillon gives a very charismatic performance, but also on the flip side can be dark, intimidating, evil. Just downright dastardly. And I think that that's one of my favorite elements of this, and why I revisit this film so often, is because I think that not only at parts is it a really great dissection of just the psyche of somebody who is absolutely deranged, and a great serial killer film, but I think ultimately it's that performance that brings me back every time, because he just goes through so many ranges, and you really do sympathize for Jack at times, and then he'll do things that are absolutely deplorable, and then you are just like, well, great, I hope that you die a slow and painful death. You know, you go through basically a whirlwind of different emotions while watching this, and I think that Matt Dillon is absolutely the standout here, and the reason you should check this out. As far as the film goes, it's very well done. You know, as much as I think that Lars von Trier can be very egotistical and very self-centric when it comes to his filmmaking. I think that he does know his way around a camera, admittedly. The film is very, very beautiful. There's so many artistically presented shots that just make you want to cut it out and put it in a frame, put it up on a wall. And I think that this is definitely a film that, although not for the faint of heart, should definitely be one that you consider watching before you see Longlegs if you are interested in just diving deep into the serial killer psyche. Other than that, I think you should definitely check out the director's cut, because if you're gonna do this film right, if you maybe only watch it one time, you want to get the full experience. Don't sell yourself short. Get the director's cut. Climbing our way into the number 2 spot, we of course have to make some room for what I think is David Fincher's best film. And no, it's not Seven. We are of course talking about Zodiac. This movie is just the definition of David Fincher. The dude seriously is mastering his craft with this film, and it may be a little bit of bias here because I am deeply fascinated by the Zodiac Killer and just that case and how it was handled over these medley of years. And I think that this film just captures kind of the confused and just honestly panicked nature of the time that we were living in. This is one of those movies that I think is essential viewing for anybody who wants to be not only a horror filmmaker or a thriller writer. I think that you should watch this if you're going to be a filmmaker, because the amount of technique and the amount of just precision that Fincher puts on display here is unmatched. I seriously mean that when I say this is his best film. Zodiac takes place between the years of 1968 and 1983, following a San Francisco cartoonist who becomes an amateur detective, obsessed with tracking down the Zodiac Killer, an unidentified individual who terrorizes Northern California with his infamous killing sprees. The film stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., and Mark Ruffalo, alongside a medley of awesome character actors that you'll recognize from many different projects over the years. But these three really are the titans of this project. You kind of follow each of their perspectives as they're going through, trying to decode and decipher what and who exactly the Zodiac Killer is. And I think that, again, not only from David Fincher's expert directing here, but the writing of this film. This is based off of the memoirs of Robert Graysmith, our cartoonist. And it's very detailed. It gets you into the mind of just what he was thinking. And again, kind of the obsessive panic nature of those, 2 decades, essentially, that they were hunting down this serial killer. And, as most of us know, the Zodiac Killer was never properly caught or found. So, this goes unsolved. I think that there's been some rumblings that people have kind of figured it out, but, that's all conjecture at the end of the day. And this film does a great job of, again, getting you in the mood of, what it is like to investigate, what it is like to try to track down a serial killer. I would say this is very close to Silence of the Lambs as far as the investigation side of things goes. But this is, again, kind of giving you a little bit of a perspective from somebody who doesn't have all the information, who doesn't have the benefit of working with the FBI or any detectives and police. They're doing this completely on their own. And I absolutely adore it. It's about 2 hours, 37 minutes, but it is worth every second you invest. And for my final pick of the films you should watch before you see Longlegs, I have to go with Prisoners from 2013. Yes, this is another film that stars Jake Gyllenhaal, but you can't deny that the guy absolutely has an eye for this material. And this is by far my most favorite, I would say, probably film from him. I think it's between this, Nightcrawler, Jarhead. The dude has been in so many things, but Prisoners has always stuck out in my mind. This cast alone is worth the price of admission. We'll dive into that in a second. But really what this film did for me that kind of changed my life in a big way was that this introduced me to director Denis Villeneuve, who is, again, my favorite filmmaker. I've said it many times on this channel. Even though he doesn't necessarily do a lot of horror, this is as close as it probably gets, next to maybe Enemy. But the guy absolutely is a force to be reckoned with in the modern era of filmmaking. I mean, he's gone from this to making things like Blade Runner and now Dune, and I think that everybody now knows his name, and that's super important to me because I've been in this guy's corner ever since I saw this film. This film is one of the best crime thriller dramas that you can find out there. You're really diving into, a case that it pulls at your heartstrings at times, but the intensity and the directions, the twists and turns that the story takes, I swear you will never see it coming. This was one of the most transformative theatrical experiences for me of 2013 and probably of my life. As I do with most of these, I just want to give you a very short synopsis of the film so that way you can discover it yourself, this one probably being the most important for that. But when Keller Dover's daughter and her friend go missing, he takes matters into his own hands as the police pursue multiple leads and pressure begins to mount. Like I said, I want to keep it short and sweet because the less you know about this, the better. But really, this is a film that I think is going to impress you. I think with the fact that if you've never heard of it, you will be kind of blown away by it. It is a film that has, again, so many wonderful performances. Diving into this cast a little bit, I mean, of course, I mentioned Jake Gyllenhaal as Detective Loki, but Hugh Jackman as Keller Dover, I mean, this is one of his all-time best performances. You even have the likes of Melissa Leo, Viola Davis, Terrence Howard. I mean, before he was spouting off all these conspiracy theories and whatnot, he was in this film, and man, he does a great job. But really, again, I think the next standout that I have to mention is Paul Dano. I won't say what his role is, I won't say what he's doing, but if you loved him in The Batman or liked kind of his way, this is a very subdued kind of portrayal of insanity, and it is heartbreaking. I cannot sit here and really praise this film enough. I feel this is one of my favorite things to recommend to people. So the fact that I was given the opportunity to do this with Longlegs coming out, I think that this is the most appropriate time for any of you to sit down and check out Prisoners. And there you have it, folks. That is my 5 recommendations before you sit down to watch Longlegs next week. Man, I am excited for this. I think that Oz Perkins is going to knock this out of the park. I mean, all of these grand, really praising reviews. I don't think I've seen a single review that even knocks this film down a peg yet. But admittedly, as you know, I try to stay away from a lot of that. I do what I can to research for these videos and just give you kind of my thoughts, opinions, tones, feelings on just what I think might work for you. And of course, if you don't find this video before you see Longlegs, then you can watch these films after. So definitely sit down, give me an idea of what you guys think should also appear on this list if we wanted to go to 10, or if you think that I'm way out of my league on some of these and you would replace them, feel free to let me know down below. I was really happy with all the feedback I got on Maxine, so I hope that you guys will enjoy Longlegs just as much. And yeah, I plan on doing this more as long as this one doesn't completely bomb. So share it, subscribe, hit that like button, make sure that you let people know that these videos are being made, and I deeply appreciate it. So let me know down below, again, all those things and more. And yeah, keep it right here on Splattercast. And without further ado, I'm Dylan Newell. And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast,